Hey everybody, I just saw Godzilla King of the Monsters last Friday, and I gotta say, wow. The director stayed true to his word. The film really is filled with non-stop action from start to finish. Anyone who complained about Godzilla's lack of screen time in the last movie should be thoroughly entertained by this sequel. Not only does Godzilla take up a large chunk of the movie, but all the other featured monsters do likewise, as there's rarely a time where the movie will go either 5 or 10 minutes without a kaiju suddenly popping up out of nowhere. And speaking of the monster action, I was a little worried that a lot of the shots and sequences that we glimpsed in all the trailers, TV spots, and promotional images were not going to be in the movie at all. Sort of like what happened with the marketing and the release of the 2014 Godzilla. But thankfully, to my surprise and joy, almost everything we saw in the trailers actually made its way into the final cut of the movie, including this incredible and fear-inducing still of King Ghidorah staring down the Monarch ship. I really, really love this image of King Ghidorah. I really did not think they were going to use it in the movie, but I was so thankful that they did. And just like the 2014 movie, there's a lot of fan service that includes not just copious amounts of monster action, but also some clever little Easter eggs shoved into the movie at various spots. For instance, when Godzilla and Mothra roar, the sound editors occasionally threw in a momentary hint of their vocalizations that were heard in the Showa and Heisei era. And I could be mistaken about this, but several times throughout the movie, when Ghidorah shrieked, he emits this loud, low-toned bellow that sounded very similar to the noise Destoroyah made in Godzilla vs. Destoroyah. And if you're a real die-hard Godzilla fan like me, you'll notice several callbacks to the earlier Toho films throughout the movie, especially in the action sequences. Bear McCreary even recreated Godzilla's 2 original themes, as well as a majestic orchestral version of Mothra's song. Though I was a little disappointed that we never got to hear a recreation of Rodan's theme or Ghidorah's theme. And unlike what was done with Godzilla and Mothra, the Foley editors didn't even bother to include any of the original vocal cues of Rodan or Ghidorah. Even worse, I felt Rodan and Mothra were kind of underwritten in the story, which is a real shame given their popularity and how prominently they were shown in the promotions. And I may as well express some of the other negatives I had with the movie. Not that I hated the movie or anything, but it of course wasn't perfect. While the first movie tried to focus heavier on story and somewhat light on monster action, King of the Monsters is the exact opposite. There's a ton of monster action that overshadowed too much of the movie's runtime that could have easily been used to tell a more thought-provoking story, which is mutual to what a lot of critics complained about, even though in 2014 they were all so upset by Godzilla's lack of screen time in that movie. I already liked the story a lot, but I do agree that it could have been better, especially if the movie kept all the monster action and just added a few more minutes for proper character development. Of course, when it comes to giant monster films, especially Godzilla, most fans generally prefer copious amounts of monster screen time and action over human drama, and this movie will certainly not disappoint them on that part. Personally, I prefer monster films that showcase a plentiful amount of monster action, while also relying on a decently scripted plot and conflict involving the human characters to help aid the flow of the story and make the experience more endearing. That's the reason why I really love a lot of particular monster films, such as the original Gojira, Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster, which King of the Monsters actually tries to copy in some fashions, The War of the Gargantuas, Destroy All Monsters, Gamera Guardian of the Universe, among others. With King of the Monsters, the feeling I had after seeing the film almost mirrors how I feel about Godzilla vs. Megalon. Sure, Megalon is pure Saturday fun, as any G-fan will tell you, but it lacks a decent setup and compelling storyline to keep us emotionally invested in its premise, compared to some of its predecessors. King of the Monsters is a bit similar when it comes down to the setup of it being a G-film made to please audiences solely with its buttload of action sequences, while partially deviating from strong plot structure. That's not really a bad thing, per se, as that's why a lot of people love movies like Godzilla vs. Megalon, Tokyo SOS, and Final Wars so much. And I've even told my friends on countless occasions that a movie's greatest strength is its ability to entertain, even if the writing falls flat. King of the Monsters is certainly not a boring movie, as its intense moments more than compensate for its weak character plot, but it kind of pains me knowing it could have been so much better with an improved script. In conclusion, despite its flaws, I have to say that I highly enjoyed the movie, and would easily recommend it to everyone, whether you're familiar with the franchise or not. Weak plot, but enjoyable characters, good acting, brilliant effects, lots of monsters, tons of action, and enough monster fights to satisfy your cravings. If you were wondering how effective the legendary Godzilla is in combat, this movie will leave you speechless. Definitely go check it out.